in JavaScript Basics, then we will start with the DOM. Okay, and I have today in the morning done a 5 JavaScript project in an hour. So go through that also if you want to learn about JavaScript. Just started with a simple project. Soon we'll do more. I think on Friday also I will do one if I get time. Friday, and soon we'll complete at least 25 projects in JavaScript. Okay, so that is there, and we have done already 15 front-end mentor projects. More are going to come. Okay, so I will be just talking about projects. So projects are coming soon. React.js and all those projects are also will become, which is required for you to get a web app developer job. Okay, so that is there. And so let me share my screen. And as I told, we have one more thing in JavaScript remaining, and which is the most important thing in JavaScript. Okay, and that is like functions in JavaScript. Right? Functions. So JavaScript is mainly a functional programming language. So functions are special in JavaScript. What are functions? As I told earlier, functions are something. Suppose we don't write like 100,000 lines of code in one go. We divide those code in small thing. Either we divide it in functions, or we divide it in classes, or we put it in different files also. That is one other thing. But these functions are there. Functions are mainly to have some common functionalities. So they are known as functions. Okay, so there are actually 4 ways in JavaScript to create functions, because as I told, JavaScript is mainly a functional programming language. So let us see those four ways. So method number 1 is function declaration. Okay, and here function add nums. So in JavaScript we have the function keyword. Okay, so add nums is there, and then num1 comma num2 and console.log of num1 plus num2. Okay, so this is a function which will take two parameters, and it will add those two things, two parameters, and it will add those numbers. So it means I can pass any parameters here, and it will add it. It will return me that. So how to run this function? This is just a declaration. If you do that, nothing will happen. And this method is known as actually declaration. This thing is I am doing. It is known as function definition actually. So I have defined a function, but how to use it? So to use it, I have to call it, and this is like similar good evening. So this is like similar good evening, like every other programming language. So add nums I'll do, and I will pass something like 20, 30. So this is what functions are all about, 20, 30. Suppose I want to pass something else like 50, 30. So I can reuse it again and again, and it will give me things. So I have created a simple add nums function. So that is there. So now the next thing is there. Okay, so we this is not a function declaration. One of the oldest way in JavaScript to do functions. And one more thing is that in JavaScript we have this function keyword. In general, most other languages we don't have. Although I'm seeing in a lot of new languages like Swift also I do a bit. So in that also func keyword is there. So then let us learn about the method number 2. So let me copy this thing, and method number 2 is known as function expressions. It is known as functions expressions. But before even looking into method number 2, I want to tell one more thing. So before that, let me change this to multi-nums. So multi-nums I'll do, and do this to multi-nums, and here instead of the plus I'll have an n2 here. Okay, if I do this, it will give me 600. Okay, it will give me 600. And Dharmendra, I got your name. So multi-num is giving me 600. Okay, so because it is multiply. So what I'm going to tell, even before telling the function expression, if most of the time we return something from the function. Okay, so just not doing a console, we return also something from a function. So if you return something from a function, then what happens? So I'll come here and I will return something return, and this is a very common scenario to return something from a function. When I return something from a function, if I run like this now, see if I clear it and run it. The second one, nothing will come. 600, nothing is coming, because when you return something, we have to catch it. So how to catch it? See, I'm returning something. I'm calling with these parameters, and then return. Return literally means to return. Return. It throws back the thing. So when it throws back the thing, I have to catch that thing. So how do I catch that thing? So to catch that thing, I need a variable. So I have a variable const multi. So I catch that in a variable multi. So now what? Now what? We'll have a console.log of multi. Is like 600. So now I have to catch it. But instead of, in most of the cases, you're going to do like this. But what happens in some cases, means in here only, I don't want to have an extra step. Instead of creating this variable, why not directly do it in the console log like this and remove this thing, and it will be also work like the same only. So this is how it is there. Okay, so good evening everyone. So but this is not function expression, I'm just showing what is a return. What is function expression then? Function expression is another way to create a function in which we don't have a, we can assign a variable to a function. Okay, variable to a function. So I just told how return works. Okay, I just told how return works. You can see that back. I just told how return works. So when you return something from a function, it is not like I am telling it again. When you return something from a function, because more than this, nobody can elaborate. Okay, so when I return something, I have to catch it somewhere. I have to catch it. When I return something, return is literally return. I'm returning something, so I have to catch it. So I'm returning this result. So I have to catch it. That's the reason I have catched it in a variable like known as multi. And then I'm doing this console.log multi. Then only it will come. Okay, but what I was doing, so instead of doing this extra step, I was directly just cutting it and pasting it here, so that see the difference here. So now also it will work like the same. So this is what the return is there. Okay, so that is there. And this is how this works. And now the next thing is like function expression. We have still not reached function expression, so let us see what is a function expression. In function expression, this multi-num, this is a, we can take a variable instead of this. Const multi-num equal to function. Actually, it is exactly the same thing what we have above. So add nums, it is exactly the same thing. Like instead of writing the function here, I can make it equal to a variable like this. This way is possible only in JavaScript, nothing else. And this is known as function expressions. And again, it will give the 600. So this is known as function expression. It is also very old in JavaScript. So now we are going to do into method 3, which is arrow functions. And arrow functions, let me write something different here, like mod nums, and have a modulus here. We're still not done the arrow function. Just I'm telling this, I'm changing to a mod. So mod means modulus, it will return the remainder, which is right. So now let us change it to arrow functions. So arrow functions are the latest functions, and it was released with ES6 in 2015. Before that, we didn't have this thing. So arrow function, it's the format is a bit different, and there is something known as this keyword, which is a bit complicated in your what it say, in JavaScript. Okay, and one of the best things is that next week I'm going to do JavaScript. I've not ever done this thing, JavaScript Advanced to Mastery course. In that, I'll explain everything but this and all. So this beginners to advanced is done many times. So I'm going to do my with this advanced to mastery. So that course will be done the first time. Please do attend it, and it will be very interesting course, because I have never done that thing. I know those things because sometimes those things are not used in the programming a lot, but they are asked in the interviews, and that is something how everything works behind the scene. So let us do this arrow functions, and in this arrow functions, this function keyword we don't have to give, and we have to give a equal to and this greater than, equal to and greater than. This is known as arrow function. Okay, and we don't give it like this. This should be one word, and this is also known as fat arrow function. This is also known as fat arrow function. And again, I'll do run this. So we get rid of this function keyword. There is this keyword binding is very good with your arrow functions, and a bit of this maybe we're going to see, but that you generally see the problem in React. So see, this arrow function is again the same thing. Function keyword we have we are not giving here. Instead of this, we will give like this, or fat arrow function. Okay, so now the method number 4 is known as condensed arrow function. So what are these condensed arrow functions? So first let me change it to live and live. I will clear it, run it. It will give me 1.3. This is something. So condensed arrow function is very important in arrow functions, because what happens if this happens only when in the arrow function there is only one return statement, and that is one return statement is there. So what happens in that, I can, if there is only one return statement, I can come here and delete this thing, and it will still behave like the same. Okay, it will still behave like the same, like this, as if there is a return function. Behind the scene it works like a return function, but if there is only one statement, we can remove that thing. So this is a short form. Even we can have a even bigger short form. Okay, in that what happens, suppose I am passing only like one parameter like num1, and I'm hard coding something else here. So it will working like 3 I'm doing, it is like 13 point something it is doing. Okay, so if cases like this are there, I can even remove this brackets, like this normal brackets I can remove, and this will behave exactly like the same. So this is a condensed arrow function, this is a short. Okay, so that is there, and this is the 4 ways. Okay, so we are done with the basics of JavaScript. Now we are going to do with the DOM programming. DOM programming is the programming through which we can build projects in JavaScript, but you'll soon see that it's a bit complicated than even the React.js course. And but you should know, you should have at least 10-15 Java DOM programming, means at least 10 JavaScript projects under your belt, because the employer will see that although in a company you're going to use you work in React.js or Angular or something like that, you will never going to work in a vanilla JavaScript project, but you should know that thing. Okay, so we're going to start the DOM programming. For that, I will have a this I will do in VS Code. DOM basics. I have a bit small. Okay, so here I will have a index.js file, not index.js. Index of HTML and .css and main.js. So this 3 I am going to have. Link CSS and okay, and so that is there. And before even putting the script folder, so this is what is there, we know this is what is there. So let me put some code now, and let me format it. Okay, so here what we have a header of header is there, in which DOM for beginners is written, and then we have a section have a container, and this container have this, all these things. It has a form. The form is like everything is there, h1 is there, then there is an important thing, which is a div of class of message. The empty div of class message is there. Then the two divs are there, one is taking the text and one is taking the email. Okay, and for email, and when there is input type button is there, and one UL is also there, empty, and something is there which we have commented out, which we are soon going to use. So I will save it and I will open it with live server. So opening it here. So it is showing like this. Let us have some style also. So this is not we are not doing a CSS project, so I'm just put the style, and we are going to go into the JavaScript directly now. Okay, so just a bit of style is there, and style will show this in the mid. Okay, so style, you can go through the style, and some flexbox and all might be taken. Okay, so I'm not seeing much. Okay, so that is there. So the style is there. So now the main.js is the place where we do the JavaScript. But one thing is there in JavaScript projects, the main.js. So you got to include that in the index.html. Just like we have included the link here in the style.css, but we don't include the main ever in the head part. We always include the this main.js. We have to include it through a script tag, script script src, and I will put it as main.js. Like this, we include script src, but we include it at the last line before the body. So why do like this? JavaScript by default is a blocking kind of a language in the HTML CSS JavaScript context. So what will happen if I put this script? I can put it in the head. There will be no error. If I put it inside the head like the link, so what will happen if the JavaScript needed to be loaded first? Suppose the JavaScript has got 10,000 lines of code, so that will load first, then only the HTML will be loaded, and that will make our site initial load very slow. So initial load will be very slow. That will be very much annoying. So the thing is that JavaScript is never required until the page is completely loaded, because JavaScript is required for what? Soon we're going to see that when we click here, then it is required. But if the clicking button is also only not visible, then how is JavaScript required? So first we let all of this website and the CSS to be loaded, then only we have the JavaScript. So that's why we put it at the end, because every program runs from top to down. So that is why I put this script at the end, and CSS HTML will be loaded, then only JavaScript will run. Okay, so let's now start with the JavaScript. So the main part here, what we are going to do is that learning how to, the main goal at the end will be learning how to submit this form, because that is what the front-end engineer does. Okay, so the name and the email, whatever the user will type, will take that, and then we are going to submit it. We're soon going to learn how the API endpoints and all those things works, what is an API and all, how those things are in Async JavaScript we are going to learn. But that is a part of backend engineers mainly. So I always say first try to be a front-end developer, then try to go to the backend. Okay, so for a front-end developer, we should know what the user types here. Till now we have styled a form and all this thing, but we never know how to get the user data. So now it's the time to know that thing. Okay, so first thing, main.js I will come. I've already done it. So first let us learn a bit of theoretical part. So here, suppose I want to grab a single element. First thing is the grabbing an element. How to grab an element? So grab single element is like const form equal to document dot get element by ID and my form. So what is this document dot get element by ID? And I have taken a variable form in which I have added the result of it. Document dot get element by ID my form. So document dot get element by ID is something which is given to us by the JavaScript. So it's a kind of JavaScript programming, like DOM programming, and this function is inbuilt in there. So what does this function do? So it will search for a ID, my form, ID of my form. So the ID is here, my form is here. So it will get these things, get element by ID my form. It literally means that get this element. So it will get this element. I will save it. And if I now console.log of form, if I do this, and if I right click and inspect it, I can see the form is selected. This is how we can select a single element. Okay, single element. Now there are ways in which there is another way also to select this thing. Like, instead of get element by ID, there is something known as query selector. So let us learn about the query selector. Instead of creating a form, I will directly do a console.log of document dot query selector, document.query selector, and dot container. Dot container is there, and then console.log document.query selector and h1. So document.query selector and dot container and h1. What is this? So this query selector is something which is a very much generic. Generic means we can give everything here. Like I'm giving a class here. Class is container. So and I can give a like h1 and all also here. H1 and all also I can give it. So that is there. So container means but container is a class and query selector is very generic. So how do I even know, how do I even know this is like this? So for that, for classes we take dot, and if I want to select this same id here, okay, so let me also show one more thing here. Like if I want to select this id, so how do I select the id? Id I will select by hash of my form. Hash of my form, I'll do save it. So now see, all of these things are coming. Like this section has been selected, this container, this section, whole of this section is selected. Again, this form is been selected, and this h1 is been selected. But what is this h1 actually? So this h1 is it is what I'm using actually here. Okay, sometime different browsers behaves differently. One sec. Okay, I'm more comfortable with here using Chrome, because see, all the browser shows the data in a different way. See here, it is showing the exactly the h1 which has been selected. So here I'm more comfortable with your Chrome. So this is h1, but DOM for beginners it is selecting, which is actually the first h1. There are two h1s in a page, so it is selecting the first one. So this is how we grab single element, and there are ways to grab multiple elements also. Yeah, good evening team. There are ways to grab multiple elements, and for that we are going to come here and uncomment this first, and so I'll uncomment this and save it. So I'll have this items here. So now we'll learn how to grab multiple elements. So let me go here and I will comment this out, and we'll learn now grab multiple elements. Grab multiple elements. Okay. So first thing is that let us directly do the console.log and document dot query selector all. There is like query selector, we have query selector all. Query selector all items dot item I'm taking. So what is this item? This class item. So with this query selector all only I can select it. So if I save it, I'll get something known as a node list. So today in some project I was doing this node list we got. So what is this node list actually? So node list is something like an array, but it is not exactly an array. Like array, if I go here, you'll see the prototype, you'll get a lot of things are like for each and all those things. So this is something which tells what are the functions available in anything. So it is like that query selector all the it is gives us everything in a node list which is like an array. So there are some other ways also to grab the elements, and one is like console.log of document dot get elements by class name, and elements s is there, and so log and document dot get elements by tag name is there. So see, both of them those I can get, and get elements again, like it is not generic like query selector is generic. Get elements by class name, and it is I'm having this item. Okay, and that get elements by tag name is the tag I have given. So this allied tag I have given, and here I have given the as I have given the item like this I've given, so it is shown like this. But here one thing to notice is that get elements give me something known as html collection. So html collection is not a node list. Okay, it is a bit different. So html collection, if I go to the prototype, I'll see even less functions are there. In a node list, if I get more functions are there. So these are what? These are the functions which we can use. For each I have already explained. For each is actually a very good way to loop through anything. So these are array like things. So means we can loop through something like for each. So but in HTML collections we cannot loop through it like that. Okay, so we can check this also, how to loop through them. So let us do that. And for checking that, let me do one thing. Okay, I'll comment. Okay. It is okay. Okay, so comment this out, and here let us store it in a variable const node items equal to like this, const all items equal to this. Now in this things, what will happen actually in this call item is a node list actually. So here I can use something like the for each call item dot for each. Directly I can use like item, and no need to give this also. So item I can directly see here. Also we use the arrow function which you have just seen. So if I give this, and it will give me all this thing back. But the same thing if I try to do it in the node items, it will fail, because we've just seen that in the node items gives me HTML collection in which there is no for each is there. So here we have to do the old way in the sense means the traditional for loop for, okay, for like let I equal to 0 as an node item pattern I plus plus, and node items I have to take, and it will give me all these things. Okay, so it will give me, so it is also giving me. So this is how we need to do in both the classes. So try to take node list, means how to take a node list. Try to take a query selectors all whenever you're going to have an array. And today only I did some project based on this. Okay, so we'll move ahead now, and we'll learn about DOM manipulation. DOM manipulation now. So I'll have a const ul equal to document dot query selector uh, uh, dot items query selector. I have a query selector. I'm not doing a query selectors because I'm selecting this dot items. Okay, so this I am selecting, and then there are ways. There is a way like ul dot remove. I can remove this also. And today I did 5 JavaScript processes, all of them with through DOM programming, because JavaScript processes are done through this method only. Okay, so go through them. They are very beginner friendly because they are just the starting. I'm slowly I will update it. Means I'm not updating. Slowly I will do complicated projects. So that is like that. Slowly complicated projects will be done. Okay, so you'll not remove, I'll do. So the remove is done like this. Now what we want to do. So see, we have this. Okay, so let me uncomment and let me comment it out. So I'll save it. And so this item 1, item 2, item 3 have been shown. Okay, so the thing is that what I want to do, I want to actually change the content of this item 1, item 2, item 3. I want to change the content of it. Okay, so that is a very important thing in JavaScript to do, to change the content of something. Okay, so let us do that. And for that there are multiple ways to do that. I want to change the content item 1, item 2, item 3, and they're coming from this inside this text. So how to do that? So for that I'll come here and do a ul dot first element child. First element child. Okay, dot text content. First element child means whatever the ul the first element is, which is the item, which is this li, and then the text content. What is the text content will give me this, and that I'm changing to not a hello, to let me change it to html and save it. So see, it will change to html. Similar to this we have like ul dot children, ul dot children. So there are actually 3 children, so it's an array. So I can give 1 because 1 is the first one. Array start with always starts with 0. and then I will give a inner text. Inner text is exactly like text content. So inner text is exactly like text content. I'll give this inner text, then it will be like CSS I can give. I'm changing that. And the third one I will change with ul dot last element child dot inner HTML, and I will do a JavaScript. I'll do a JavaScript. Okay. Inner HTML. So inner HTML is a bit different than inner text and text content. Inner text and text content are same, but inner HTML is what? Inner HTML is, if you give something in inner HTML, it will interpret it as an HTML. See, H1 was changed to like big thing, but it is not possible here. If I try to give like this here, like this H1 here, it will show like this H1 like this. Okay, it is not possible. Only inner HTML we can get. Inner HTML is very powerful. You go through the JavaScript projects which I have done. Now you all can go through the JavaScript projects because I'm teaching this DOM. So you will see that I use everybody use a lot of inner HTML, and I have also used that. Yeah. So this is how you can change these things. Okay. So now we will learn about a very important concept in JavaScript, which is one of the main reason why JavaScript was even invented, and that is called as event listener. See, how do I listen to the click of this thing? So there is something like an event listener which is always continuously running in the in the background, always whenever we have that, and then it will listen the moment the user clicks on it, it will perform something. And that is one of the most important logic in JavaScript. So I have a event listener. I'll have an event listener, and here I have a const. So I want to have an event listener on this button. Const btn equal to document.query selector button, because button have this class of button. So I'm selecting it like this. Okay. So then after this, what I can do, btn dot add event listener, click event listener, and I need to have this e.prevent default. And why I need to have this e.prevent default? And e is the thing which we always get from an event, and it is a very powerful thing. It will get access to a lot of things, but we need to have a prevent default whenever we have a input or a button inside a form which is of type submit, or else it refreshes the browser. Okay, if I now comment like this, okay, comment it out like this, e.prevent default, it means the default behavior of the browser which comes from our PHP days. And what it does, when you submit some button inside a form, it will refresh the browser also. So it is refreshing the browser. You see closely here, it is refreshing the browser, and our console or anything will not be shown. So JavaScript is a very dangerous behavior. Always when we do this thing form, we always do this thing e.prevent default, which literally means to prevent the default behavior of the browser, which is like refreshing when we click on a button inside a form. Okay, so I'll do like this, e.prevent default. This is like a boilerplate code which you have to give. So then I will submit. So I'll get this e. See, in e I'm getting so many things, because e is actually very powerful. We get a lot of things from the e, which belongs to the browser, like e.target.value, e.screenx, this is also very important. It gives us the screen value, and a lot of different things are there in this e. Okay, so this e is very powerful, but now we are not going to use the e right now. And what we are going to do here, we can do one thing here. So like this whole thing I can cut it and move it here. So what does that mean? If I save it, see, again it is item 1, item 2, item 3, but it means that the moment I submit it, it will be changing to this thing, because this is how I have written it here. Okay, so that is there. And okay, this click event listener, there are like this many other event listener, but click is the most important event listener, because on a button we always have click event listener, and most of the time we want to hear for the event listener on a button only. So now we will come to the main part of this tool. Okay, and one more thing today, maybe I will I don't want to go beyond DOM today, and the next thing like async JavaScript will be started from the next class. Async JavaScript and ES6 are remaining, so that will learn in the next class. So let me give one thing. Let me give the attendance sheet. Please mark in attendance here. Okay, so now we are going to look into the main thing now, means how to submit this form and all. And to look into that main thing, I will actually comment out everything, and I will also comment out this UL, because there will be something which will show here. See, right now we don't have any backend logic. So what I want to do whatever the user types here, and when you click on the submit, it should be shown below it. Most of the, in real case scenario, it will go to the backend. Whatever the user give a name or the login or some, that goes to the backend. But we don't know how to create a backend and all. We don't even know how to write an API endpoint. That we're going to learn soon, but we don't know right now. So let us work on this. So again, if I want to work on this, I have to select everything here, and we'll start with the form. And yeah, const my form equal to document.query selector hash my form. Yeah, hash my form is okay. Const name input equal to document.query selector hash name. So ID of name is there. Then I will have a const email input is equal to document.query selector hash email. This ID of email is there. Then I will select this message. Okay, this message MSG, this class. So const MSG equal to document.query selector dot message, because it's a class. Then I will also select this empty user, this thing. I will also select this. So I'll come here and do a const user list equal to document.query selector hash users, because it's a ID here. It's a ID here. So I selected this. Okay, and now I need to listen for this form submit. Okay, by click also I can listen for this form submit. But since it's a form, since this button is inside a form, I get access to another special kind of event also, which is known as submit event. Okay, so submit. So I will use that. So I'll do the my form dot add event listener, and it will be submit and on submit. So one more thing, I can call this function here also, or I can call this function outside also. Outside also I can call it. Okay, so I will call this function outside, like function on submit, and I will again get the here I will get, and then I'll do e dot pre event default I'll do, and I'll do a console dot log, and name input dot value. Okay, name input dot value. Name input dot value is actually what will give us the value of this. Suppose I write my name here and submit it. See, I will get it here. So name input dot value means name input dot value will give me the whatever the user types is. So this is how we get whatever the user types here. Okay, so that is there. And now we are going to do a bit of validations here. So suppose in this case, if I submit it, it should tell me that okay, you have to enter the email also. These validations are very popular. You will see it in almost every site. These validations are there. So let me come here and do a if name input dot value. Okay, let me do this thing and explain it. Name input dot value triple equal to empty string, or even input value triple equal to empty string, then message, this message dot class list dot add. So what is this class list dot add? Class list dot add means in this message with whatever is this, add a class of error. Add a class of error. So you'll see that what is happening. So add a class of error. Error class will be added here. So if an error class is added here, I already have style for this error class. Error class is actually a white red color box has been shown in this background is red, like some color is also there. And then what I'm going to do, so I will actually comment it out now, because we're going to use it soon. Message dot inner text also I can take. Inner text, I'll take inner text equal to please enter all the fields. So I'm also adding some message here. Okay, so let me go here and save it. Now one more thing I want to show. So let me select this thing, and in this I have this form. Inside this form I have this div class message. So see, right now this is an empty div of class message. Okay, now I'll come here and do a write my name, and I will even click it here. It will come inside this because I'm not given any email. So see this, please enter all the fields coming. How it is coming? So first thing, this line classlist.add error is adding the class of error in this thing. So when you add a class of error in there, I will getting this thing, and then it is also adding the next line, which is like inner text, which you have recently seen. Inner text is adding this thing, so I'm getting this. Please enter all the fields. But if I keep it like this, this error will be here only. But I want to remove this error after 3 seconds. So I'm using set timeout, again a JavaScript variable, in which what I'm going to do, this message, this whole div I'm going to remove after 3 seconds. So again, if I comment, so watch closely, again this empty div is there. So suppose I leave both of them blank. So again this error and this will come, 1 2 3 gone. So that div itself will be deleted. So this is how the validation is done. But validation is done, but now I want to show this thing, and now I want to show this thing. So how I will show this thing? So I have a else part here, and then in this else part I will have a const li equal to document dot create element li. So this is where a bit of complicated JavaScript starts. Document dot create element. So JavaScript is very powerful. What I'm doing here, so again understand, I will again show it here. Showing it from here, it is very easy. So I am creating an element UL. Right now my UL is totally empty. Nothing is there in my UL. It is totally empty. So I'm creating an li with create element li. Then I'm doing a li dot append child. That li should have some text, and we have to do it like this: li dot append child document dot create text dot name input dot value and email input dot value. So this is how we, that's name input dot value and email input dot value will add in this li. And then this user list dot append child li. So in this user list is what? User list is my UL. So in that I'm appending this li, and then after that name input dot value is empty and email input dot value is empty, like this. Okay, because we have to do this or else this value doesn't go. So let me again do this and see again. Now check this user, it is completely empty. Now I will add something here. Okay, so then I will click on the submit. So see now what happened in the UL, I have an li been added. So this document dot create element li is creating an element of li, and li dot append child document dot create text node and even value dot this is actually adding this Nabindu Vishwas, and then I'm putting that user list dot append child li. So in this UL I am putting that li. Right now with these two things, it is like sort of there in the air, and now I am putting it in the users, and this I need to do or else this data remains there. Okay, so now I can use something else also, like this. I'll do submit and it will be adding this. So another li has been added. So this is how it works. Okay, this is how all of this works. Okay, so hope everyone filled it. Hope everyone filled the attendance sheet. Please fill the attendance sheet for the day 3. Okay, and this is DOM programming. Today I have done 5 projects, and that were with DOM program. Please go through that. The first project is very easy, which is a converter app, address book app. Go through that. That is even easier than this. But these are some of the things which you should know, like inner text, and I've done everything in DOM. And DOM, you learn more, you do more projects. We plan to do 25 JavaScript projects, 5, 5, 5, 5. So you're going to learn all those things. All this stuff you're going to learn. At least have 10 projects in your portfolio. It will be very good for you. 10 projects from CSS, 10 projects from JavaScript. That will complete the CSS and JavaScript portfolio. Then you have to do the React.js. Soon we're going to have more React.js live streaming projects and all. Okay, so that is there. And so as I've told today, I will actually end here only. And Async JavaScript and ES6 is remaining. That I'm going to do tomorrow, and day after tomorrow we're going to cover that. And thank you all for